Welcome to the Stronger Marriage Podcast with Trey and Lee.
We are glad you're here. We are doing a longer podcast today. We've been doing some short ones between our long ones so that you'd have one every Wednesday of the summer. And we're excited about the one we're doing today.
Yeah, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're still talking marriage for sure. But we had somebody recently say, do y'all ever do parenting stuff? And it's been a long time since we've done really anything on parenting. So this kind of maybe fits both categories, marriage and parenting. We're going to talk about 7 things your kids need to see in your marriage.
And it's important that you model a healthy marriage for your kids, or that you even model marriage, period. They need to see you as something other than mom and dad. They're kind of in your school of marriage is a good way to put that. And they need to have an idea of what to expect someday when they get married. And like it or not, they're watching, and so you got to teach them well. One of the reasons why you want to do that and model a healthy marriage is because when they leave home someday, if they've never seen you being husband and wife, they're going to kind of go, we don't exactly know what to do. So it's important that they see you go on dates and hold hands and things like that we're going to talk about today, some of those things. But also, the other reason is because one of the fear of younger kids is that something's going to happen to their family. And so when they can see a healthy marriage and that y'all are being husband and wife and not just mom and dad, that kind of helps their fear a whole lot. And so keep modeling those healthy marriages for those kids.
So we're going to share with you 7 ways that you can model a healthy marriage.
Things that I think they need to see that's important for them to see. And the first one is going to be sharing responsibilities and in the home that they need to see what that looks like and how y'all balance the home life so that someday, they're going to be a product of what they grew up in. And if they see one parent that doesn't do anything to help, they're going to kind of get an idea of, hey, either I do all of it or I can't expect my spouse to help, or, hey, I'm not responsible to do anything when I get married someday.
Yeah, we come into marriage with expectations, and generally it is based off of what we saw modeled as we grew up. So, I think in this day and age with husbands and wives working outside the home, the biggest majority, it's really important to model, splitting the load of all of the household duties. You and I grew up in traditional homes where our moms did most of the housework and, the cooking and the laundry, the cleaning, all of those kinds of things, because they stayed home with a bunch of kids. And our dads worked outside the home. Our moms worked inside the home for the most part. I think they both had some part-time jobs as we got older. But, we kind of went into marriage with that more traditional mindset that I would take care of the home, you would work outside the home. That worked for us. But you still, helped plenty, which when you got little kids running around, you still need some help with housework and, with all the things that entail running a household. And so I think it's important for your kids to see, it's okay for dad to run the vacuum and load the dishwasher and even cook a meal. I think that's really great to see. And our kiddos that, both of them work outside the home, they really have figured out how to split the duties. Our son does, I think, the majority of the cooking and the kitchen cleaning, and our daughter-in-law, she does the laundry, and they've just kind of figured out how to split those responsibilities. So their kids are going to get a well-rounded view of, I'm going to pitch in and help and do all these other things when I get married as well. So
yeah. Did you know about 68% of families today have both parents that work outside the home? So nearly 7 out of 10. Mm-hmm. And so if that's you, then yes, you do need to step up and share responsibilities on everything.
And I see that only increasing, since it has increased over the years. I see that continue to increase. as the economy gets harder. And it's just really important to teach your children, it's okay for the boys to do the things that are considered women's roles, and it's okay for wives to do things that are considered, maybe the things that the men do. It all needs to be shared.
Yeah, I think so too. Saw a lady on Friday, a younger lady out mowing her yard, and I had, I don't think that's abnormal anymore.
Mm-hmm. She could have been a single mom, but she also maybe just, I think
maybe that was her job.
She may
like it.
Maybe she enjoyed it, and so
nothing wrong with it if that's what you want to do.
Hopefully, her husband helps out in other areas, and she's not doing all the inside and outside things.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so, sharing the load is an important responsibility, and even having your kids help share the load.
Yeah.
And
teach them when they're young how to do all those things.
And sometimes even we've kind of struggled with that in a little bit. I think we're better at it now. We're empty nesters. We kind of know what our responsibilities are and what we do. But there are still times where we ask, "Hey, what do you have on your list that I can do?" If you don't know what to do to help your wife, or if you're the wife and you don't know what to do to help your husband and he just seems really busy, ask, how can I help? Mm-hmm. And if they ask, don't get frustrated that they didn't see or know what it was that needed to be done around the house, because they really probably didn't know. Mm-hmm. So, if you're not sure, just go, hey, what's on your list that I could do to help? How can I help today?
Yeah, that's a good point. Don't get aggravated. Just be glad they're willing to pitch in and help share some of the load that needs to be done.
That's a very important thing.
So, next one.
They need to see you dating. And I mentioned that earlier in the introduction. I kind of cheated on that one. And I think everybody that listens to our podcast would have known that was on there. So why is that important that kids see that their parents date?
Yeah, I mean, kids need to see you being more than just roommates and doing life together. They need to see you being, affectionate and wanting to spend time together, wanting to have, they need to see you having fun together and wanting to spend time together outside of just being mom and dad. Yeah.
And that's just, sometimes when we say date, this is just quality time that we're talking about. Hey, we're going to, if your kids are old enough, hey, mom and dad are going to go out tonight and see a movie or go have supper, or we're going to go do something. You guys hang here at the house that y'all like each other and that you want to spend time together.
Yeah, that's it. It just lets them know that you want to spend time together. You like hanging out together. So let your kids know that y'all have a friendship, and so that's a very healthy thing that kids need to see.
We were unable to do a lot of trips or traveling without our kids when they were small. We just couldn't. Parents can't do that. We get it. We can do that today a whole lot more. And so there are going to be times where you can't. But if you can, if you're blessed with grandparents that live close or family that lives close, and you're able to sneak off for a little overnight trip somewhere, that's so healthy. That's just so good for your marriage, and you need to do that. It's important that you do that. We always throw out the 3 2s at workshops. Every 2 weeks you should be going on a date. Twice a year you should be going overnight somewhere without the kids. And then once every 2 years you should be going multiple nights away. And those are minimums. Some people will look at that and go, really? We do so much more than that. That's minimum. And that's generally, if you have toddlers and littles, that's pretty hard to do. And so, but try to shoot for something along those lines.
Yeah. The next one is they need to see you being affectionate.
Yeah, which would be hugging when you come home from work. Mm-hmm. Hug, give a kiss, hold hands. I think that makes them feel secure at home. And it's always better when your kids say, ooh, gross, instead of, will y'all please stop fighting. They need to see you being affectionate. That's a very healthy thing to do. Kissing under the mistletoe and occasionally saying gross, get a room, sitting on your husband's lap, whatever it is. Those are all healthy things for kids to see, that y'all like each other and that y'all love each other and that you're not just mom and dad, that you're also married. That's a very healthy thing for your kids to see.
It is. And touch is just an important part of life. It really is for everybody. We all need to be touched. It says you matter to me, you're important to me. And not only do we need to be touching as spouses, but we need to be touching our children and teaching them, be affectionate with people that you love. It's okay to give hugs and to, kiss on the cheek, the forehead, and those kinds of things, because, it just lets us know that, hey, I matter to this person when you are receiving affection. So that's a really healthy thing to model to our kids.
Our kids are pretty affectionate. Most of our kids, we may have seen them on Friday, and then Sunday morning when they come to church, they hug our necks. It's kind of like that's just kind of what we do most of the time. We're kind of huggers, some more than others, but it's a healthy thing.
Yeah, and I think part of that is it's not necessarily touch, but I think it goes along with affection is saying I love you. Let your kids hear you tell your spouse I love you, and be sure you tell your children I love you. I've heard you say you did a funeral one time for some ladies whose father passed away, and they said we know he loved us, but he never told us. And that's tell your kids you love them. You may show them, but they still need to hear the words. So that's also an important part of affection that needs to be modeled.
Yeah, they need to hear it from you. Another thing that your kids need to see is that you praise one another. That, we're really good at praising our kids. Great job on your report card. Thank you for taking out the trash, whatever it is. But they also need to hear you go say things like, your mom, you guys have got the best mom or the best dad. Or didn't Dad do a great job fixing supper tonight? Aren't we blessed to have a good cook in this house? And they need to hear you praising one another. And that's really, really important that they see that in you so they can learn how to do that as well. Because praise is really, really important. And, bragging on one another in front of the kids is a healthy thing to do.
Yeah. So the opposite of that is being critical. Your children absolutely do not need to hear you be critical of your spouse in front of them. If you need to say something that's a little bit critical, hopefully you keep that to a minimum, but don't do it in front of the kids, because that's just that's tough.
That is tough.
If you struggle with the criticism, hopefully you can keep it to a minimum with your kids and your spouse as well.
Yeah.
So
we've been talking good things like sharing responsibilities, dating, being affectionate, praising one another. There's going to be times in your marriage that you're going to argue or not see eye to eye on things. And it's important. Another thing they see is that you argue or just disagree in a healthy way. So can I give you some quick unhealthy ways, okay? If you're upset, there should never be a place in your home for screaming. We feel like that's out of bounds. Throwing things, cussing one another, yelling at each other. Did I say calling names? Yeah,
I think so.
Punching walls and slamming doors. All those things are out of bounds.
Raising your voice.
That is not what your kids need to see. It's okay if they see you disagree with one another. Problems are a part of life, and how we handle those problems are going to affect our kids and how they learn it. But losing control is not what they need to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they need to see you be able to, talk through things calmly and rationally.
Yeah.
And if you, are really feeling a little bit angry, show them, hey, we're going to take a break from this. We need to step away from this. We're not going to just sit here and fuss and argue. So tell them, teach them how to step away from a tense situation, but then let them know, at some point it's got to be solved, and that you did solve it. So they just need to see how to argue and problem solve in a healthy way.
That's right. And in that is not just forgiving, but also apologizing, respecting one another, being respectful while you argue. And so it means not being short, not being, little, where you just dig at each other. But there are times where you apologize. And I can remember specifically my dad apologizing to me and my brother a couple of times for not handling his temper very well, and that really made really affected me in a very positive way. That here's my dad, who's an adult that I respected, and he could even say, "Hey, I'm sorry. I should have handled that a little bit better."
Right. So yeah, they need to not only see you apologize and forgive your spouse, but to apologize to your children and, ask their forgiveness as well. So yeah, that's a great thing to model to your kids.
Yeah, that is exactly right. We got 2 more. What are they?
The next one is practicing what you preach.
Okay, so this is going to be a little bit more with values and integrity, isn't it?
Yeah. Children, you can tell them what not to do or what to do a million times, and, it may go in one ear and out the other, but they're going to do what you model. If you,
That's right.
If you say, don't do this, and then you do it, you're teaching them just the opposite, so
I always like to use the example of you can't tell your kids, hey, we don't lie in this house, and then when the salesperson comes by on Sunday afternoon and you don't want to have to deal with them, and you tell your kids, hey, tell them I'm not home, you've just told your kids we do lie in this house. And they will learn 1,000 times more about what you do and the example you set than they ever will from what you tell them.
Yeah.
So modeling values and integrity is going to be really, really important that you do that instead of just saying this is what we do.
Yeah, exactly. Practice what you preach. The last one, and last but definitely not least, right? We're going to have some people that say, well, that should have been number 1 on the list.
There weren't any.
We didn't do this in any specific order because hopefully this is first on your list. Make God a priority. It's important for your children to see you act on your faith. When you model the importance of God in the home, then hopefully they're going to model it in their homes. And that's going to affect, the way that they do all of these other things. I feel like, when you love God first, you love other people better. So, you're going to do all of these other things better when you're making God a priority.
Yeah, your kids, just kind of like we talked about practicing what you preach, you can't tell your kids you need to read your Bible and them never see you read your Bible. Or, hey, you kids should be praying and they never see you pray. Lead your kids to church. That's very important to us as a family. We still go to church as a family. Read your Bible together, pray together. All these things are great things to model to your kids, that God is important to you. Because if you don't make God important to you by doing things, you can't just say, hey, God's important to us, but you don't ever show it. I guarantee you your kids are going to feel the same way. And
talk about how God has been faithful to you throughout the years. Your kids need to hear your stories.
That's right.
Of how God has been faithful and trustworthy and good, because those stories need to be passed down so that they they just have some examples of that. We get that from the Bible of all of the stories of old. They were passed down from generation to generation, and so it's important that we do that as well, so that faith doesn't die out a few generations down the road.
Yeah, that is a great point. Great point. So 7 things: share responsibilities, date, be affectionate, praise one another, argue in a healthy way, practice what you preach, and make God a priority. Thanks for joining us. We've enjoyed our time together. Hope this has blessed you.
Yep, and we will see you next time.